high above the rivers, lakes, and rugged coastlines of North America, a broad winged figure circles slowly against the sky. The bald eagle, with its powerful flight and unmistakable white head, has long captured the attention of those who look upward from the forests and waters below. For centuries, it has ruled the edges of land and water, watching the movement of fish beneath the surface and the shifting rhythms of the wild landscapes it inhabits. Its story stretches far beyond the present day, shaped by ancient ancestry, the rich ecosystems of rivers and coastlines, and a complex relationship with the people who have shared the continent with it. Through patience, strength, and remarkable adaptability, the bald eagle continues to move through the skies as one of the most recognizable and enduring predators of the northern world. Part 1. Origins. Despite its name, the bald eagle is not actually bald. The word bald comes from an Old English term meaning white-headed, referring to the striking white feathers that appear on the head and tail of mature birds. The bald eagle belongs to a group of large birds of prey, often known as sea eagles, powerful raptors closely connected to rivers, lakes, and coastlines. In scientific classification, its name carries a meaning that describes the bird with remarkable accuracy. Translated into English, the name means white-headed sea eagle. The phrase reflects two of the species' most distinctive traits. Mature individuals display the striking white feathers of the head and tail that contrast sharply with their dark brown body, while their lives are closely tied to water, where fish form the foundation of their diet. Across the waterways of North America, this great hunter moves between forest, river, and open sky, a bird whose appearance and way of life are captured in the meaning of its name. The earliest raptor ancestors appeared not long after the extinction of the great reptiles that dominated the Earth during the age of dinosaurs. During the early expansion of modern birds, certain predatory species began occupying ecological roles similar to those of today's hawks, falcons, and eagles. These early hunters were smaller and less specialized, but natural selection favored individuals capable of grasping prey with powerful feet and detecting distant movement with exceptional eyesight. Over many millions of years, these traits intensified, giving rise to the highly refined aerial predators known today. Long before the modern species appeared, the continents themselves were undergoing dramatic changes. Ice ages advanced and retreated, coastlines shifted, and forests expanded across regions that had once been open plains. These changes created new ecological opportunities. Rivers carved deep valleys across the land, glaciers formed enormous lakes, and seasonal fish migrations became reliable sources of food for birds capable of exploiting them. In such environments, the ancestors of bald eagles found conditions that favored their specialized hunting style. Genetic studies suggest that the bald eagle shares close ancestry with the white-tailed eagle of Eurasia. These two species resemble one another closely in size, body shape, and ecological role, and it is likely that their ancestors diverged when populations became separated across the northern regions of the world. Over time, isolation led to distinct species forming on different continents, each adapting to the particular climates and ecosystems of its range. The bald eagle's most recognizable feature, its white head and tail, develops only after several years of maturity. Young birds begin life with dark brown feathers mottled with lighter markings, resembling other large raptors of their environment. As they age, gradual changes in plumage signal their transition into adulthood. This delayed maturity reflects a life history strategy common among large birds of prey, where individuals require several years to master the complex skills necessary for survival. The skeletal structure of the bald eagle reveals much about its ancestry and lifestyle. The bones of the wings are long and lightweight, strengthened by internal supports that maintain rigidity while keeping overall mass low. This allows the bird to soar efficiently, riding thermal currents of warm air that rise from the land. With minimal wing beats, an eagle can travel vast distances, conserving energy while scanning the landscape below. The eyes of the bald eagle are among the most remarkable features inherited from its raptor ancestors. Positioned forward on the skull, they provide excellent depth perception. Within the retina lies a dense concentration of photoreceptor cells that allow the bird to detect small movements from extraordinary distances. From hundreds of meters above a lake or river, an eagle may spot the faint shimmer of a fish near the surface. Such visual acuity is essential for survival in environments where prey may appear only briefly before disappearing again beneath the water. The beak of the bald eagle also reflects its evolutionary heritage. Strongly curved and sharply edged, it functions not as a tool for capturing prey, but for tearing it apart once secured by the talons. This division of labor between feet and beak is typical of raptors. The talons seize and immobilize, while the beak processes the meal. Together, these features form a highly efficient predatory system, refined over countless generations. As glaciers retreated from North America at the end of the last great ice age, newly formed lakes and expanding river systems created ideal habitats for fish-eating birds. The ancestors of bald eagles spread across these landscapes, following waterways from coastal estuaries to inland forests. Over thousands of years, they became a familiar presence along shorelines, perched high in tall trees or circling silently above broad valleys. Although closely tied to water, bald eagles are not confined strictly to coastal regions. Their evolutionary flexibility allows them to inhabit a wide range of environments so long as food and nesting sites remain available. This adaptability reflects the success of their ancestral design. The combination of powerful flight, extraordinary vision, and opportunistic feeding habits allows these birds to survive across enormous territories. Even today, the bald eagle's life still reflects echoes of its ancient origins. Its soaring flight mirrors that of early raptors that once dominated prehistoric skies. Its hunting techniques follow patterns refined through millennia of trial and adaptation. Each movement of its wings, each careful glide above a river valley, carries forward a lineage shaped by the forces of evolution and the changing landscapes of Earth. From distant ancestors that first learned to hunt from the air, to the specialized sea eagles that mastered the edges of water and land, the bald eagle stands as a culmination of a long evolutionary journey. Its presence across the rivers, lakes, and coastlines of North America represents not merely a single species, but the continuation of a heritage forged over millions of years in the skies above the changing world. Part 2. Habitats. Across the vast landscapes of North America, the presence of the bald eagle is closely tied to water. Rivers, lakes, estuaries, and coastal shorelines form the foundation of its habitat. Wherever large bodies of water support abundant fish and tall trees provide secure nesting places, the bald eagle can thrive. From the icy fjords of Alaska to the warm wetlands of the southern United States, these birds occupy environments that offer both food and vantage points from which they can survey their surroundings. The bald eagle is among the largest birds of prey on the continent, and its physical scale becomes clear when seen in flight above open water. An adult may measure roughly 70 to 100 centimeters in body length, or about 2.5 to 3 feet from beak to tail. Even more impressive is the span of its wings. When fully extended, the wings can stretch between about 1.8 and 2.4 meters, or roughly 6 to 8 feet from tip to tip. The largest individuals approach the upper end of this range, their broad wings allowing them to glide effortlessly above rivers and coastlines for long periods with only occasional wing beats. Females are typically larger than males, sometimes weighing nearly twice as much, a difference that is common among many birds of prey. Across this enormous range, subtle regional differences appear among bald eagle populations. Scientists have traditionally recognized two forms shaped partly by geography and climate. In the colder northern regions of Alaska and Canada lives the larger northern bald eagle. These birds tend to have greater body mass and slightly longer wings, an advantage in colder climates where larger bodies help conserve heat. Farther south, across much of the United States and into northern Mexico, lives the smaller southern bald eagle. Individuals in these warmer regions are generally lighter and somewhat smaller in build. Despite these differences, both forms remain part of the same species and can interbreed freely wherever their ranges overlap, creating a continuous population spread across the waterways of the continent. The relationship between bald eagles and water is not accidental. Their ancestors evolved to exploit aquatic food sources, and the modern species still depends heavily on fish and other animals associated with rivers and coastlines. As a result, their distribution follows the great waterways of the continent. In the far north, they inhabit rugged coastlines where glaciers carve valleys into the land and salmon fill the rivers during seasonal migrations. In these regions, dense forests of spruce and fir provide towering trees suitable for the construction of enormous nests. The cold waters below teem with life, creating one of the richest feeding environments available to any bird of prey. Moving southward, bald eagles inhabit the immense boreal lakes that stretch across Canada. These freshwater systems, some of the largest on Earth, support populations of fish such as northern pike, whitefish, and lake trout. Eagles patrol the shorelines of these waters, soaring high above the forests before descending toward the surface when prey appears. Islands scattered across the lakes often become favored nesting sites, offering isolation from predators and human disturbance while remaining close to fishing grounds. Along the Pacific coast, bald eagles occupy environments shaped by tides and ocean currents. Rocky shorelines, kelp forests, and estuaries provide a constant supply of marine life. In these places, the birds often gather in remarkable numbers, especially during periods when salmon migrate upstream to spawn. The abundance of fish can attract dozens of eagles to a single stretch of river, each bird waiting patiently along the banks or perched high in nearby trees. When a fish struggles near the surface, an eagle may glide down to seize it with sudden precision. Farther inland, bald eagles follow the courses of great rivers that cut across the continent. Systems such as the Mississippi, Columbia, and Yukon rivers create corridors of life stretching across thousands of kilometers. Along these waterways, the eagles find a mixture of wetlands, forests, and open floodplains. Such environments provide both food and nesting opportunities. Tall cottonwoods and other large trees often grow near riverbanks, offering sturdy platforms where eagles can construct their massive nests. Wetlands and marshes form another important type of habitat. In these shallow waters, fish amphibians, and waterfowl are abundant. The dense vegetation also attracts numerous species of birds, whose presence creates additional feeding opportunities for the eagle. From a high perch overlooking a marsh, a bald eagle can observe movements across a wide area. A fish breaking the surface, a duck paddling through reeds, or the remains of a carcass washed onto shore may all become potential meals. In winter, habitat selection becomes even more closely tied to the availability of open water. In northern regions, many lakes freeze completely, forcing eagles to move toward rivers, coastal areas, or other places where water remains unfrozen. These wintering areas can host large gatherings of birds. Eagles from distant breeding territories may converge on the same stretch of river where fish remain accessible beneath thin ice or swift currents. The landscape surrounding an eagle's habitat is also important. Bald eagles require tall structures from which they can observe their environment. In forested regions, large trees fulfill this role. Old-growth trees with thick trunks and strong branches are especially valuable because they can support the enormous nests that eagles build. In more open landscapes, where tall trees are scarce, cliffs may serve the same purpose. A nest placed high on a rocky ledge provides both safety and a commanding view of nearby waters. Despite their preference for wild landscapes, bald eagles have demonstrated a surprising ability to adapt to environments influenced by human activity. Reservoirs created by dams sometimes become productive habitats, supporting fish populations that attract hunting eagles. Agricultural areas near rivers may also provide feeding opportunities when fish gather in irrigation channels or flooded fields. However, the presence of suitable nesting sites remains crucial. Without tall trees or cliffs, even areas rich in food may not support breeding pairs. Seasonal changes continually reshape the habitats in which bald eagles live. Spring brings melting snow and rising rivers, increasing fish activity and drawing eagles toward spawning grounds. Summer offers long daylight hours that allow extended hunting and care of growing young. Autumn sees migrating fish and waterfowl, providing additional food before winter arrives. Finally, winter concentrates eagles around the remaining open waters, where survival depends on efficient hunting. Across all these environments, the bald eagle remains a creature of edges. It thrives where land meets water, where forests border rivers, and where open skies allow wide sweeping flight. The ability to soar above these landscapes gives the eagle a commanding perspective. From high above a winding river or coastal inlet, it surveys a world filled with movement, ready to descend whenever an opportunity appears. Through this intimate connection with rivers, lakes, and coastlines, the bald eagle continues its life along the great waterways of North America. Part 3. Prey. The diet of the bald eagle reflects its deep connection to water and the abundance of life found along the edges of rivers, lakes, and coastlines. Fish form the foundation of its feeding habits, and in many regions they make up the majority of all food consumed throughout the year. The eagle's entire hunting strategy is shaped by the presence of fish near the surface of the water. From high above a lake or river, the bird circles slowly, scanning the shimmering surface for movement. When a fish rises toward the light or swims close enough to be detected, the eagle descends with controlled speed, extending its powerful talons to seize the prey in a single swift motion. Among the many fish species taken by bald eagles are salmon, trout, northern pike, carp, catfish, and various species of perch and whitefish. The exact composition of their diet varies depending on the region and the season. In northern coastal regions, salmon often dominate the diet during spawning runs, when thousands of fish crowd into shallow rivers. At these times, the landscape becomes one of the richest feeding grounds available to any bird of prey. Eagles perch along the riverbanks or in nearby trees, watching patiently as fish struggle upstream. When an opportunity appears, the eagle glides down to the water and lifts a fish from the surface before carrying it back to a perch where it can be consumed. While fish are the primary prey, bald eagles are highly opportunistic hunters capable of capturing a wide variety of animals. Waterfowl are frequently taken, especially species such as ducks, geese, grebes, and coots. In wetlands and lakes where these birds gather in large numbers, an eagle may target individuals that are injured, weakened, or slow to react. A sudden descent from above can create confusion among a flock, allowing the eagle to single out one bird and seize it with its talons. Small and medium-sized mammals also appear in the eagle's diet. Rabbits, muskrats, squirrels, and occasionally young beavers may be captured when they venture into open areas near water. These prey items are less common than fish, but demonstrate the flexibility of the eagle's feeding behavior. When fish are scarce or weather conditions make fishing difficult, the eagle may rely more heavily on terrestrial animals. Another important source of food is carrion. Bald eagles are skilled scavengers and will readily feed on the carcasses of animals found along shorelines or riverbanks. Dead fish washed onto the shore after storms, the remains of deer or other large mammals, and animals killed by other predators may all attract feeding eagles. Their strong beaks allow them to tear flesh from carcasses that might be difficult for smaller birds to exploit. In coastal environments, bald eagles sometimes hunt marine animals that appear near the surface of the water. Flatfish, rockfish, and other species that swim close to the surface can be seized directly from the sea. Occasionally, eagles have been observed capturing small sharks or rays when these animals rise toward the upper layers of coastal waters. Such events are relatively rare, but they illustrate the remarkable strength of the eagle's grip and the breadth of prey that can fall within its capabilities. The largest prey that a bald eagle can capture depends largely on circumstance. Most prey items weigh less than the eagle itself, allowing the bird to lift them into the air and carry them to a perch. However, the eagle's talons are capable of grasping animals that exceed its own body weight. In such cases, the bird may drag the prey across the surface of the water toward shore, rather than attempting to fly with it. Large fish, such as adult salmon, can weigh several kilograms, yet they are regularly taken when conditions allow. Waterfowl, such as large geese, represent some of the most formidable prey captured by bald eagles. A goose may weigh nearly as much as the eagle itself, and subduing such prey requires both strength and precision. The eagle often attacks from above, striking with extended talons that grasp the bird's back or neck. Once the grip is secure, the eagle attempts to force the prey onto the water, where the struggle may continue until the victim is exhausted. Young mammals occasionally become prey as well. Newborn deer or young seals near coastal waters have been recorded in rare instances as victims of bald eagle attacks. Such events are uncommon, but demonstrate the impressive capabilities of a predator that combines powerful talons with keen observation and patience. Despite these abilities, the bald eagle often conserves energy by taking advantage of opportunities created by other animals. When fish die naturally during spawning seasons, their bodies may drift into shallow water, where eagles can collect them with minimal effort. Similarly, carcasses left behind by wolves, bears, or human hunters can provide substantial meals. This opportunistic, Feeding strategy allows the eagle to survive in environments where prey availability changes throughout the year. The bald eagle's role as both hunter and scavenger places it near the top of the food web in many ecosystems. By consuming fish and other animals, it participates in the complex cycles that move energy through aquatic and terrestrial environments. At the same time, its scavenging behavior helps recycle nutrients that might otherwise remain locked within carcasses. Throughout its range, the bald eagle adapts its diet to whatever prey is most abundant. In some regions, fish dominate almost entirely, while in others, waterfowl or carrion may play larger roles. This flexibility allows the species to occupy an enormous geographic range, stretching across diverse climates and landscapes. Whether lifting a struggling fish from a river, capturing a duck from a quiet marsh, or feeding upon the remains of a carcass along a windswept shore, the bald eagle demonstrates the versatility that has allowed it to persist across centuries of environmental change. Its diet reflects not only the resources of its habitat, but also the evolutionary history that shaped a bird capable of exploiting the rich boundary between water and land. Part 4. The hunt. The act of hunting in the bald eagle is a refined balance of patience, vision, and controlled power. While the bird is capable of explosive bursts of speed, much of its hunting behavior depends on careful observation and efficient use of energy. Bald eagles spend long periods soaring above landscapes or perched in high vantage points, scanning the waters below for subtle signs of movement. Their ability to detect prey from great distances is the foundation upon which all of their hunting strategies are built. The eyesight of a bald eagle ranks among the most powerful in the animal kingdom. Each eye contains an exceptionally dense concentration of photoreceptor cells that allow the bird to distinguish fine detail from far away. When soaring hundreds of meters above a lake or river, the eagle can detect the faint shimmer of a fish turning near the surface or the slight disturbance of water caused by a swimming animal. This level of visual precision allows the eagle to select targets before beginning its descent. Once prey has been located, the eagle adjusts its wings to glide downward in a controlled arc. Unlike some birds of prey that dive at extreme speeds, bald eagles often rely on a measured approach. Their broad wings, which may stretch over 2 meters from tip to tip, provide tremendous lift and allow the bird to maneuver smoothly through the air. As it descends, the eagle keeps its head fixed on the target while making small adjustments with its wings and tail to maintain balance and direction. In the final moments before capture, the eagle extends its legs forward and spreads its talons. These talons are among the most formidable tools possessed by any bird. Each foot carries 4 powerful claws, sharply curved and hardened to penetrate flesh and hold struggling prey securely. The underside of the toes is covered with roughened pads that increase friction, preventing slippery fish from escaping the grip. When capturing fish, the eagle typically strikes the water with only its feet. Its wings remain partially extended to maintain lift, while the talons close around the prey. In a successful strike, the fish is seized instantly and lifted free of the water with a powerful beat of the wings. The eagle then climbs back into the air, often carrying the fish to a nearby tree or shoreline, where it can be eaten in relative safety. Sometimes the prey is too heavy to lift immediately. In these cases, the eagle may drag the fish across the water's surface toward the shore. This technique requires careful control of the wings to maintain enough lift, while the talons remain locked onto the prey. Once the eagle reaches shallow water or land, it can secure the meal more easily and begin feeding. The biomechanics of flight play a crucial role in the success of these hunting attempts. The bald eagle's wings are designed for soaring efficiency rather than constant flapping. By riding rising currents of warm air known as thermals, the bird can remain aloft for long periods while expending little energy. This allows the eagle to search wide areas without exhausting itself. When thermals are weak, such as during cool mornings, the eagle may rely more heavily on perching strategies, waiting patiently until prey approaches within range. The tail of the bald eagle acts as an important steering mechanism during flight. Broad and fan-shaped, it can spread or contract to adjust the bird's balance. During hunting dives, the tail helps stabilize the eagle as it aligns its body with the target below. Even small movements of the tail feathers can alter the direction of flight, allowing the eagle to correct its course as prey moves through the water. Another remarkable feature of the bald eagle is the strength of its grip. The muscles controlling the talons are capable of exerting tremendous pressure, allowing the bird to maintain a secure hold on prey that struggles violently. Once the talons close, a locking mechanism in the tendons helps keep them clenched without constant muscular effort. This adaptation prevents prey from slipping free, even during the turbulent moments immediately after capture. Although bald eagles are formidable hunters, not every attempt is successful. Fish may dive deeper just as the eagle approaches, or strong winds may disrupt the final strike. In such cases, the eagle simply climbs back into the air and resumes searching. This persistence is an essential part of the hunting process. By conserving energy through soaring and patient observation, the eagle can afford multiple attempts until success is achieved. The hunting behavior of bald eagles is also influenced by weather conditions. Strong winds may create waves that make it difficult to see fish beneath the surface, while bright sunlight reflecting off the water can obscure movement below. During calmer conditions, when the water surface is smooth and visibility is clear, hunting success tends to increase. Eagles learn to recognize these patterns and often adjust their activity to match the most favorable times of day. In winter, hunting strategies may change when rivers and lakes begin to freeze. Eagles gather near stretches of open water where fish remain accessible. Here, competition between individuals can become intense, and quick reflexes become even more important. An eagle that detects prey first must seize the opportunity before others arrive. Through the combined forces of anatomy, instinct, and learned experience, the bald eagle has become one of the most efficient hunters along the waterways of North America. Its soaring flight allows it to patrol immense territories. Its vision reveals the hidden movements of prey beneath the water's surface, and its talons deliver the decisive grip that transforms observation into capture. These elements together form a hunting system perfected over countless generations, enabling the bald eagle to maintain its place among the most formidable predators of sky and shore. Part 5. Family life. The family life of the bald eagle begins long before eggs appear in the nest. Mature adults usually form strong pair bonds that can last for many years, sometimes for the remainder of their lives. These partnerships are reinforced through repeated interactions that include shared soaring flights, vocal exchanges, and dramatic aerial displays. One of the most remarkable of these displays occurs high above the landscape, when two eagles grasp each other's talons and spiral downward together, before separating at the last moment. Such behavior appears to strengthen the bond between partners and demonstrate coordination and vitality as the breeding season approaches. As the time for nesting draws near, the pair turns its attention toward building or repairing their nest. Bald eagle nests are among the largest ever constructed by any bird. High in the branches of a tall tree, or sometimes on a cliff ledge overlooking water, the birds begin assembling a platform of thick sticks and branches. Over the years, the same pair may continue to add material to the structure season after season. With each new layer, the nest grows larger and heavier. Some nests eventually reach more than 4 meters, or about 13 feet, in depth, and can measure well over 2 meters, or around 6 to 8 feet, across. The accumulated branches can weigh more than 1 metric ton, or roughly 2,000 pounds. These enormous structures may remain in use for decades, becoming massive landmarks within the forest canopy. Inside the nest, the pair lines the surface with softer materials such as grasses, moss, and smaller twigs. This inner layer forms a more comfortable resting place for the eggs. Once the nest is ready, the female lays a small clutch, most commonly 2 eggs, though occasionally 1 or 3 may be produced. The eggs are pale and relatively large, reflecting the size of the chicks that will soon emerge. Both parents participate in the incubation of the eggs. The adults take turns sitting over the clutch to maintain the warmth necessary for development. This period lasts slightly more than a month. While one bird remains on the nest, the other hunts along nearby waterways, returning periodically with fish or other prey. These shared responsibilities strengthen the partnership between the 2 adults, each contributing to the survival of the next generation. When the eggs finally hatch, the nest becomes the center of constant activity. The newly emerged chicks are covered in soft grey down and are completely dependent on their parents for warmth and food. At this stage, their bodies are fragile and their movements uncoordinated. The adults brood the chicks frequently, shielding them from wind, rain, or excessive sun, while carefully delivering small pieces of food. As the weeks pass, the young eagles grow rapidly. Their bodies strengthen, their appetites increase, and the parents must hunt frequently to meet the demands of their expanding offspring. Fish remains the most common food delivered to the nest, though waterfowl or small mammals may also appear among the meals. The adult eagle tears the prey into smaller portions and feeds the chicks piece by piece. Competition sometimes develops between siblings. Because the eggs hatch several days apart, the first chick usually grows slightly larger and stronger than the second. This difference can influence feeding order, with the older chick often gaining easier access to food. In seasons when prey is plentiful, both young may thrive, but in leaner times, the imbalance can become more significant. Gradually, the soft down that once covered the chicks is replaced by darker juvenile feathers. Unlike their parents, the young birds do not yet display the striking white head and tail that make adult bald eagles so recognizable. Instead, juvenile plumage is mostly dark brown, often mottled with lighter patches. This coloration provides a degree of camouflage among branches and forest shadows. Only after several years of growth and maturity will the famous white head and tail fully develop. As the wings lengthen and muscles strengthen, the young eagles begin exercising their growing bodies. Standing on the nest, they spread their wings and flap vigorously, building the strength needed for flight. They peer over the edge of the nest toward the forests and rivers below, observing the world that soon will become their own. Eventually, the moment arrives when the young eagle leaves the nest for the first time. With an uncertain leap, it launches into the air, gliding toward a nearby branch before regaining balance. These early flights may appear awkward, but with repeated attempts, the fledgling gradually masters the control of its wings. Over time, it begins exploring the surrounding landscape, always returning to the nest area where the parents continue to provide food. For several weeks after fledging, the young eagle remains dependent on its parents. The adults still bring prey, and the fledgling watches carefully, learning the techniques that will one day allow it to hunt independently. Gradually, the distance of its flights increases, and the young bird begins spending longer periods away from the nest. Eventually, the time comes for dispersal. The bond between parents and offspring slowly fades as the young eagle ventures farther across the landscape. Guided by instinct and curiosity, it travels along rivers and coastlines, exploring territories far from the place where it was born. In these journeys, the juvenile eagle begins the long path toward maturity, carrying with it the inherited instincts and behaviors that have sustained its species for generations. Part 6. Social bonds. Within the world of bald eagles, relationships between individuals form a complex network shaped by territory, hierarchy, and the demands of survival. Although they are often seen soaring alone above rivers and forests, bald eagles are not entirely solitary creatures. Their lives intersect repeatedly with those of other eagles, and these encounters reveal patterns of cooperation, competition, and social recognition that influence how individuals move through their environment. The most stable relationship in an eagle's life is the bond between adult partners. Once a pair has formed and established a territory, the two birds often remain associated for many years. Their partnership extends beyond the breeding season and influences many aspects of daily life. While hunting, the pair may patrol the same stretches of river or lake, occasionally perching within sight of one another. Their calls carry across the water, helping them maintain contact even when separated by distance. Territory plays a central role in shaping these relationships. A nesting pair typically occupies a section of landscape that includes reliable food sources and suitable nesting trees. The boundaries of this territory may extend across several kilometers of shoreline or forest. Within this space, the resident pair enjoys priority access to food and nesting sites, and they often respond quickly when other eagles approach too closely. Encounters between territorial pairs and intruding eagles can produce dramatic aerial displays. The resident birds may rise into the air and circle the intruder while calling loudly. If the stranger persists, the confrontation may escalate into rapid chases across the sky. These pursuits rarely involve direct physical contact, but the speed and intensity of the flight demonstrate the determination of the resident pair to defend their domain. Most intruding eagles eventually retreat, searching for feeding opportunities elsewhere. Despite this territorial behavior, the boundaries between neighboring pairs are not always rigid barriers. In regions where food is abundant, territories may overlap slightly along the edges. Adjacent pairs sometimes tolerate one another, so long as each remains near its own nesting area. In such landscapes, the sky may hold several eagles at once, each maintaining a respectful distance while hunting over the same general waterway. Young eagles experience a very different social world from that of established adults. During their first several years of life, they do not yet possess territories or mates. Instead, they wander widely across the continent, exploring rivers, coastlines, and lakes where food can be found. These immature birds often gather in loose groups near productive feeding areas. At such locations, dozens of eagles of different ages may be seen perched along shorelines or circling above open water. Within these gatherings, a subtle hierarchy can develop. Older birds, especially fully mature, adults with white heads and tails, often dominate feeding opportunities. When a fish is captured or a carcass discovered, Younger birds may wait at the edges while the stronger individuals feed first. These interactions allow young eagles to observe experienced hunters while gradually learning the rhythms of feeding competition. Relationships between siblings also influence the early life of an eagle. Inside the nest, young birds grow side by side, sharing warmth and food delivered by their parents. Yet this closeness is accompanied by competition. Because chicks hatch several days apart, the older sibling often gains a size advantage that can affect access to food. During feeding, the stronger chick may position itself closer to the parent, receiving larger portions. In years when prey is scarce, this imbalance may determine which chick ultimately survives. As fledglings begin exploring the world beyond the nest, their relationship with one another may shift again. They often perch together on nearby branches and practice short flights around the nesting tree. These early experiences build coordination and strength while maintaining a temporary bond between siblings. Eventually, however, each young eagle begins to travel farther from the nest, and the shared territory of childhood fades as they disperse into wider landscapes. Communication plays an important role in maintaining these relationships. Bald eagles possess a range of vocal calls that carry across open air and water. Their voices are surprisingly high-pitched for such large birds, consisting of sharp whistles and chattering notes. These calls may signal alarm, reinforce contact between partners, or warn intruders that a territory is occupied. Visual signals also contribute to communication. Changes in posture, wing position, and flight pattern can convey intentions during encounters between individuals. Over time, the network of eagle relationships spreads across entire regions. A single river system may support numerous pairs, each maintaining its own territory, yet interacting occasionally with neighbors and wandering juveniles. These repeated encounters create a dynamic social landscape in which individuals recognize one another through sight, sound, and behavior. Through these relationships, the bald eagle balances independence with connection. Each bird must hunt for itself and defend its space, yet it also participates in a broader community of eagles whose lives intersect along shared waterways. In the open skies above forests and rivers, these interactions form an intricate pattern of movement and behavior, reflecting the delicate balance between rivalry, cooperation, and the quiet continuity of life within the eagle's world. Part 7. Rivals. Across the rivers, lakes, and coastlines where bald eagles live, they share their environment with a wide array of other animals. Some of these species compete directly with the eagle for food, while others interact with it in more subtle ways, neither clearly predator nor prey. These relationships form an intricate web of encounters that shape the daily life of the eagle. Among the most frequent rivals are other large birds of prey that depend on similar food sources. The osprey is perhaps the most well-known of these competitors. Like the bald eagle, the osprey hunts fish, diving into the water with remarkable precision to grasp prey beneath the surface. When an osprey emerges from the water carrying a fish, the sight may attract the attention of nearby eagles. Bald eagles often pursue these smaller raptors through the air, forcing them to drop their catch. Once the fish falls toward the water or ground, the eagle descends to claim it. This behavior, known as kleptoparasitism, allows the eagle to obtain food without performing the difficult task of catching it directly. Although ospreys are among the most frequent victims of this behavior, they are not the only animals that may lose a meal to an opportunistic eagle. Bald eagles sometimes attempt to take advantage of the hunting efforts of certain fish, eating mammals as well. River otters, which are agile and highly skilled fish hunters, often bring their catch to the surface while feeding along riverbanks or floating in calm water. An observing eagle may descend suddenly in an attempt to seize the fish before the otter can finish its meal. Similar encounters occasionally occur near coastal waters, where seals or other marine mammals capture fish close to the surface. These incidents are not constant, but they illustrate the flexible and opportunistic nature of the bald eagle, which readily exploits any opportunity to obtain food within its environment. Bald eagles sometimes obtain food not only by hunting or scavenging, but also by taking advantage of the efforts of other predators. River otters, for example, are highly skilled fish hunters that often bring their catch to the surface while feeding along riverbanks or floating in calm water. An observing eagle may descend suddenly and attempt to seize the fish before the otter can finish its meal. Similar encounters occasionally occur with seals or other fish-eating mammals near coastal waters. These interactions rarely involve prolonged conflict, but they illustrate the opportunistic nature of the eagle, which readily takes advantage of any available source of food within its environment. Other large raptors share the skies as well. Golden eagles inhabit many of the same mountainous and open landscapes where bald eagles occur, though their diets often differ. Golden eagles typically hunt mammals such as rabbits and ground-dwelling animals, while bald eagles focus more heavily on fish and waterfowl. Despite these differences, encounters between the two species can occur, especially near carcasses or in regions where food resources overlap. When such meetings happen, the outcome depends largely on the circumstances and the determination of each bird. Scavenging birds also participate in the network of interactions surrounding the bald eagle. Vultures frequently appear near carcasses found along shorelines or riverbanks. Their keen sense of smell and their ability to detect food from great distances often lead them to the remains of animals before other scavengers arrive. When a bald eagle approaches a carcass already occupied by vultures, the larger bird's presence may displace them temporarily, allowing it to feed. Yet vultures often return once the eagle departs, continuing the process of consuming the remains. Many smaller birds interact with bald eagles in ways that are less confrontational. Crows and ravens are particularly notable in this regard. These intelligent birds sometimes follow eagles through the landscape, observing their movements and watching for opportunities to feed on scraps left behind after a meal. At other times, they harass the eagle with persistent calls and swooping flights, a behavior known as mobbing. Although such harassment rarely causes harm, it demonstrates how smaller birds respond collectively to the presence of a powerful predator. Owls share portions of the eagle's habitat as well, though their lives unfold along a different rhythm. While bald eagles hunt primarily during daylight hours, most owls become active after darkness falls. This difference in activity reduces direct competition between the two groups. Nevertheless, their territories sometimes overlap in forests and along river valleys where tall trees provide nesting sites for both species. On rare occasions, a daytime encounter may occur if an owl remains exposed after sunrise, but such meetings are usually brief. Waterbirds represent another group that regularly interacts with bald eagles. Ducks, geese, and other waterfowl often share the same lakes and marshes that provide fishing grounds for the eagle. Flocks of these birds remain constantly alert for danger from above. When an eagle approaches, the flock may erupt into sudden flight, scattering across the water in a flurry of wings and splashing. Although many of these birds escape, the moment of confusion sometimes allows the eagle to isolate an individual that cannot flee quickly enough. Along coastlines and large rivers, bald eagles also encounter mammals that influence the distribution of food. Bears and wolves may capture large prey, whose remains later attract scavengers. When these predators leave behind partially eaten carcasses, eagles may descend to feed upon what remains. In this way, the actions of terrestrial hunters indirectly support the survival of the eagle by providing additional sources of nourishment. Fish themselves play an essential role in these ecological interactions. The presence of large fish populations attracts not only eagles, but also other predators such as otters, seals, and fish-eating birds. During seasonal migrations, when fish crowd into shallow rivers to spawn, the concentration of life can draw many species together. Eagles may be seen perched beside herons, gulls, or cormorants, each species waiting for its own opportunity to capture prey. Through all of these encounters, the bald eagle occupies a position near the top of the ecological hierarchy of its environment. Few animals challenge it directly, yet it constantly negotiates space and resources with the many creatures that share its habitat. Some relationships involve rivalry and competition, while others are simply moments of coexistence within a shared landscape. These interactions illustrate that the life of a bald eagle is not isolated from the wider community of animals around it. Every river valley, marsh, or coastal inlet forms a living network in which predators, scavengers, and prey all influence one another. Within this network, the bald eagle moves with authority, yet always as part of a larger ecological system that connects sky, water, and land. Part 8. Human History. For thousands of years, the presence of the bald eagle has been intertwined with human history across North America. Long before written records existed, the great bird was already a familiar figure in the skies above rivers and forests where early human communities lived. Its striking appearance, powerful flight, and commanding presence made it an animal that attracted attention and meaning in many cultures. Among numerous indigenous peoples of North America, the eagle held deep symbolic importance. Its ability to soar high above the earth placed it in a unique position within traditional belief systems, often seen as a messenger between the human world and the spiritual realm. Feathers from eagles were considered sacred objects and were used in ceremonies, regalia, and rituals that carried profound cultural significance. These feathers symbolized honor, courage, and a connection to the natural world. Different nations developed their own traditions involving the eagle. In the cultures of the Plains peoples, eagle feathers were sometimes awarded to warriors as marks of bravery or accomplishment. The feathers might be incorporated into elaborate headdresses, each feather representing a story of courage or service. In other communities, eagle feathers played a role in healing ceremonies, dances, or important gatherings, where they represented spiritual guidance. The eagle also appeared frequently in stories and oral traditions. In many narratives, it was portrayed as a powerful guardian of the sky, capable of seeing great distances and protecting the balance between land and water. Some traditions describe the eagle as a symbol of wisdom and leadership, reflecting the bird's commanding presence and sharp awareness of its surroundings. When European settlers arrived in North America, they too were struck by the appearance of the bald eagle. Its large size and distinctive white head made it stand out among the wildlife of the continent. Over time, the bird came to occupy an important place in the developing identity of the United States. In the late 18th century, the bald eagle was chosen as the national emblem of the country. The image of the eagle holding arrows and an olive branch became part of the national seal, symbolizing strength, independence, and the balance between war and peace. As the nation expanded westward, the bald eagle continued to appear in art, literature, and public symbols. It was portrayed on flags, coins, and official documents, gradually becoming one of the most widely recognized animal symbols in the world. Yet the relationship between humans and the eagle was not always harmonious. During the 19th and early 20th centuries, bald eagles were often viewed as threats to livestock, fisheries, or hunting interests. Misunderstandings about their behavior led to widespread persecution. Eagles were sometimes shot or poisoned because they were believed to compete with humans for valuable fish or game, animals. In reality, much of the eagle's diet consisted of fish that were already dead or easily available, and the bird played an important ecological role as both predator and scavenger. Another major challenge emerged in the 20th century with the widespread use of certain chemical pesticides. One of these chemicals, known as DDT, entered rivers and lakes through agricultural runoff. As fish absorbed the substance, it moved up the food chain into the bodies of larger predators. Bald eagles, feeding heavily on contaminated fish, accumulated increasing levels of the chemical in their tissues. This caused the shells of their eggs to become unusually thin and fragile. Many eggs broke during incubation, preventing chicks from developing successfully. As the effects of these chemicals became more widely understood, scientists and conservationists began raising concerns about the declining eagle population. By the middle of the 20th century, the species had disappeared from many regions where it had once been common. In some areas, only a handful of breeding pairs remained. The growing awareness of this decline eventually inspired protective measures. Laws were introduced to safeguard eagles from hunting and disturbance, and the use of harmful pesticides was restricted or banned in many places. Gradually, the conditions that had pushed the species toward the brink began to change. Despite the hardships of that period, the cultural significance of the bald eagle remained strong. The bird continued to represent ideals of freedom, resilience, and connection to the natural landscapes of North America. Its image persisted not only in national symbolism, but also in the traditions and stories of the people who had long shared the continent with it. Through centuries of human history, the bald eagle has remained a powerful presence both in the sky and in the imagination. Its relationship with humanity reflects a complex mixture of reverence, misunderstanding, and eventual recognition of the need to protect the living world. In this way, the story of the bald eagle mirrors the broader story of how human societies have learned, sometimes slowly, to understand and respect the creatures that share their environment. Part 9. Conservation. The future of the bald eagle has been shaped by both the pressures of the modern world and the efforts made to protect the natural systems upon which the species depends. As a large predator closely tied to aquatic environments, the bald eagle is particularly sensitive to changes that affect rivers, lakes, and coastal ecosystems. Pollution, habitat loss, and human disturbance have all influenced its population at different times in history. Yet the species has also demonstrated a remarkable capacity for recovery when protective measures are put into place. During the middle of the 20th century, the bald eagle experienced one of the most severe declines in its history. The widespread use of chemical pesticides in agriculture had unintended consequences that reached far beyond the fields where they were applied. These chemicals entered waterways through rain and runoff, eventually becoming concentrated within fish and other aquatic organisms. As bald eagles consumed these contaminated prey, the chemicals accumulated within their bodies. One of the most damaging effects of this contamination was a phenomenon known as eggshell thinning. The chemicals interfered with the eagle's ability to produce strong shells, causing eggs to become fragile and prone to breaking during incubation. Even careful parents could not prevent many of these eggs from collapsing beneath their weight. As a result, reproduction failed across large portions of the species range, and the number of young eagles entering the population declined sharply. At the same time, other factors added further pressure. The cutting of large forests removed many of the tall trees that eagles depended on for nesting. Expanding human settlements increased disturbance around rivers and lakes, sometimes forcing breeding pairs to abandon their nests. In some regions, illegal shooting and poisoning also reduced eagle numbers, driven by the mistaken belief that the birds pose serious threats to fisheries or livestock. By the time scientists and conservationists began carefully documenting the problem, bald eagle populations had fallen dramatically in many areas. In parts of the continental United States, only small, scattered groups of nesting pairs remained. The bird that had once been widely recognized as a symbol of strength and freedom now faced the possibility of disappearing from much of its natural range. The response that followed became one of the most significant conservation efforts directed toward a bird of prey. Governments, researchers, and environmental organizations worked together to address the causes of the decline. One of the most important steps was the restriction and eventual banning of certain harmful pesticides. With these chemicals removed from widespread use, contamination levels in fish and other prey gradually decreased. Legal protection also played a vital role. Laws were strengthened to prevent the killing or disturbance of eagles and to safeguard their nests. Wildlife agencies began monitoring nesting territories and establishing protective zones around important breeding sites. These measures reduced human interference during the sensitive nesting season, when adult birds and their chicks were most vulnerable. Habitat protection formed another essential component of recovery. Efforts were made to preserve wetlands, riverbanks, and coastal forests where eagles hunted and nested. In some areas, artificial nesting platforms were even constructed to provide suitable sites where large trees were scarce. As forests matured and conservation policies took effect, more nesting locations gradually became available. The results of these combined actions began to appear slowly but steadily. Reproduction improved as eggshell strength returned to normal levels, allowing more chicks to survive to fledging. Young eagles dispersed across the landscape, establishing new territories in regions where the species had once vanished. Over the course of several decades, populations expanded across much of their historical range. Today, the bald eagle stands as one of the most notable examples of successful wildlife recovery. In many regions where the species was once rarely seen, it has become a familiar presence once again. Eagles now nest along major rivers, lakes, and coastlines throughout North America, raising new generations that continue the long lineage of this remarkable bird. Yet, conservation remains an ongoing responsibility. Although the eagle population has grown stronger, the species still depends on healthy ecosystems. Pollution, habitat fragmentation, and the broader effects of environmental change can still influence the availability of food and suitable nesting sites. Continued protection of waterways and forests ensures that the conditions supporting eagle populations remain stable. The story of the bald eagle demonstrates how closely the fate of a species can be tied to the actions of human societies. When harmful practices threatened its survival, the population declined rapidly. When those practices were changed and the natural environment was given a chance to recover, the eagle responded with resilience. High above rivers and coastlines, the broad wings of the bald eagle once again trace wide circles through the sky. Its presence reflects the recovery of landscapes that sustain countless forms of life. In the quiet movement of these birds across the open air lies a reminder that the balance between human activity and the natural world can shape the future of even the most powerful creatures. The end.